Reading from the Bible, English Standard Version.
Biblesummary.info. Genesis, chapter 31. The Lord told Jacob to return home. Jacob left in secret, and Rachel took Laban's idols. Laban chased Jacob, but they made a treaty. Genesis, chapter 31. Now Jacob heard that the sons of Laban were saying, Jacob has taken all that was our father's, and from what was our father's he has gained all this wealth. And Jacob saw that Laban did not regard him with favor as before. Then the Lord said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers and to your kindred, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah into the field where his flock was, and said to them, I see that your father does not regard me with favor as he did before, but the God of my father has been with me. You know that I have served your father with all my strength, yet your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. But God did not permit him to harm me. If he said, The spotted shall be your wages, then all the flock bore spotted. And if I said, The striped shall be your wages, then all the flock bore striped. Thus God has taken away the livestock of your father and given them to me. In the breeding season of the flock I lifted up my eyes, and saw in a dream that the goats that mated with the flock were striped, spotted, and mottled. Then the angel of God said to me in the dream, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. And he said, Lift up your eyes and see. All the goats that mate with the flock are striped, spotted, and mottled. For I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and made a vow to me. Now arise, go out from this land, and return to the land of your kindred. Then Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, Is there any portion or inheritance left to us in our father's house? Are we not regarded by him as foreigners? For he has sold us, and he has indeed devoured our money. All the wealth that God has taken away from our father belongs to us and to our children. Now then, whatever God has said to you, do. So Jacob arose and set his sons and his wives on camels. He drove away all his livestock, all his property that he had gained, the livestock in his possession that he had acquired in Paddan Aram, to go to the land of Canaan to his father Isaac. Laban had gone to shear his sheep, and Rachel stole her father's household gods. And Jacob tricked Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he intended to flee. He fled with all that he had, and arose and crossed the Euphrates, and set his face toward the hill country of Gilead. When it was told Laban on the 3rd day that Jacob had fled, he took his kinsman with him, and pursued him for 7 days, and followed close after him into the hill country of Gilead. But God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream by night, and said to him, Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. And Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country, and Laban with his kinsmen pitched tents in the hill country of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, What have you done, that you have tricked me and driven away my daughters like captives of the sword? Why did you flee secretly and trick me, and did not tell me, so that I might have sent you away with mirth and songs, with tambourine and lyre? And why did you not permit me to kiss my sons and my daughters farewell? Now you have done foolishly. It is in my power to do you harm. But the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad. And now you have gone away because you longed greatly for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods? Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I thought that you would take your daughters from me by force. Anyone with whom you find your gods shall not live. In the presence of our kinsmen, point out what I have that is yours, and take it. Now Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. So Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the tent of 2 female servants, but did not find them. And he went out of Leah's tent, and entered Rachel's. Now Rachel had taken the household gods, and put them in the camel's saddle, and sat on them. Laban felt all about the tent, but did not find them. And she said to her father, Let not my lord be angry that I cannot rise before you, for the way of women is upon me." So he searched, but did not find the household gods. Then Jacob became angry and berated Laban. Jacob said to Laban, "What is my offense? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? For you have felt through all my goods. What have you found of all your household goods? Set it here before my kinsmen and your kinsmen, that they may decide between us two. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried, and I have not eaten the rams of your flocks. What was torn by wild beasts I did not bring to you. I bore the loss of it myself. From my hand you required it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. There I was. By day the heat consumed me, and the cold by night, and my sleep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you have changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been on my side, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God saw my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked you last night." Then Laban answered and said to Jacob, "The daughters are my daughters, the children are my children, the flocks are my flocks, and all that you see is mine. But what can I do this day for these my daughters, or for their children whom they have borne? Come now, let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it be a witness between you and me." So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. And Jacob said to his kinsmen, "Gather stones." And they took stones and made a heap, and they ate there by the heap. Laban called it Jegar Sahadutha, but Jacob called it Gilead. Laban said, "This heap is a witness between you and me today." Therefore he named it Gilead and Mizpah. For he said, "The Lord watch between you and me, when we are out of one another's sight. If you oppress my daughters, or if you take wives besides my daughters, although no one is with us, see, God is witness between you and me." Then Laban said to Jacob, "See this heap and the pillar, which I have set between you and me. This heap is a witness, and the pillar is a witness, that I will not pass over this heap to you, and you will not pass over this heap and this pillar to me, to do harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us." So Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. And Jacob offered a sacrifice in the hill country, and called his kinsmen to eat bread. They ate bread and spent the night in the hill country. Early in the morning, Laban arose and kissed his grandchildren and his daughters, and blessed them. Then Laban departed and returned home. Biblesummary.info. Genesis chapter 31. The Lord told Jacob to return home. Jacob left in secret, and Rachel took Laban's idols. Laban chased Jacob, but they made a treaty.
Reading from the Bible, English Standard Version, a personal reading and recording project. Background summary. Hi, and welcome to my project. This project is not meant to be a professional recording or presented as one. It is simply the recording of my reading from the English Standard Version in 1 year as an act of personal devotion. The recording is typically done in one take during my personal devotions. There are errors, with some on-the-spot corrections throughout. I expect that I would fix any errors at a future date if and when I redo this project. One of my aims as I read is to consider how I might use expression to enhance the reading and understanding of the text. I'm not an actor. This is being done as part of my meditation on the Word. I post this project in the event that it may be of profit to others in their engagement with the Bible. There are many professionally produced audio presentations of the Bible online, more refined than my offering. I commend them and recommend them, and have been immensely blessed in my own use of them over the years. Please use any and all resources available to you that enrich your reading, understanding, and application of the Bible. Feel free to drop me a line in the comments, or at readingfromthebible@gmail.com. Your suggestions that would help me refine this project and presentation are welcome. This video has been created with the aim of adhering to the following permissions at www.crossway.org. ESV Bible Permissions, ESV Copyright and Permissions Information, the Holy Bible, English Standard Version, ESV, Copyright, 2001, by Crossway, a publishing ministry of Good News Publishers, all rights reserved, ESV Text Edition, 2016. The Holy Bible, English Standard Version, ESV, is adapted from the Revised Standard Version of the Bible. Copyright Division of Christian Education of the National Council of the Churches of Christ in the USA. All rights reserved. Crossway is a not-for-profit organization, a publishing ministry of Good News Publishers, that exists solely for the purpose of publishing the good news of the gospel and the truth of God's Word, the Bible. A portion of the purchase price of every Bible is donated to help support Bible distribution ministry around the world. To view our ESV permission policies, please see categories of usage below: print, digital, audio, artwork and stationery, music. ESV audio permissions. Crossway's standard use guidelines for the ESV. The ESV text may be quoted verbatim, completely conforming to and unchanged from the current ESV text, for audio use up to and inclusive of 500 verses, without express written permission of the publisher, provided that the verses quoted do not amount to more than one half of any one book of the Bible, nor do the verses quoted account for 25% or more of the total text of the work in which they are quoted. Common uses include podcast or website, CDs, video, audiobook, TV and radio, quoting in a sermon. Notice of copyright must be fully listed on audio products quoting from the ESV. Scripture quotations are from the ESV Bible, the Holy Bible, English Standard Version. Copyright 2001 by Crossway, a publishing ministry of Good News Publishers. Used by permission. All rights reserved. Verbal credit must also be given to the ESV. Requests outside standard use guidelines. Permission requests that exceed the above guidelines require written permission. To obtain written permission, complete and submit our online form. ESV Digital Permissions. Crossway Standard Use Guidelines for the ESV. The ESV text may be quoted, in visual or electronic form, up to and inclusive of 500 verses without express written permission of the publisher, providing that the verses quoted do not amount to more than one half of any one book of the Bible, nor do the verses quoted account for 25% or more of the total text of the work in which they are quoted. Common uses include a website or blog, email, social media, writing an ebook. Notice of copyright must appear as follows on digital works quoting from the ESV. Scripture quotations are from the ESV Bible, the Holy Bible, English Standard Version. Copyright 2001 by Crossway, a publishing ministry of Good News Publishers. Used by permission. All rights reserved. May not copy or download more than 500 consecutive verses of the ESV Bible or more than one half of any book of the ESV Bible. ESV API. Crossway allows you to access the ESV Bible text from our server and include it on your website or app, free of charge for non-commercial use. To learn more or register for the API, visit www.esvapi.org. The following is an entry from Wikipedia on the English Standard Version of the Holy Bible. English Standard Version. The English Standard Version, ESV, is an English translation of the Christian Bible. It is a revision of the 1971 edition of the Revised Standard Version that employs an essentially literal translation philosophy. History. Work on this translation was prompted, in the early 1990s, by what the publisher Crossway Books stated was a need for a new literal translation by scholars and pastors. A translation committee was formed, and it was sought and received permission from the National Council of Churches to use the 1971 edition of the RSV as the English textual basis for the ESV. About 6% was revised in the ESV. Translation philosophy. The stated intent of the translators was to follow an essentially literal translation philosophy while taking into account differences of grammar, syntax, and idiom between current literary English and the original languages. The ESV uses some gender-neutral language. Revisions. In 2007, the ESV underwent a minor revision, and the publisher did not identify the updated text as a revised edition. The update changed about 500 words by focusing on grammar, consistency, and clarity. One notable change was from "wounded for our transgressions" to "pierced for our transgressions." In April 2011, another edition was issued, involving 275 verses and less than 500 words. The publisher announced the intention of the changes were to correct grammar, improve consistency, or increase precision in meaning. The 2007 edition has been gradually phased out. In August 2016, Crossway announced the ESV Permanent Text Edition with 52 word changes in 29 verses. The publishers announced their intention to leave the text alone for the foreseeable future after this update. However, this policy was abandoned the following month, with Crossway announcing that they would still consider minimal and infrequent updates to reflect textual discoveries or changes in English over time. Lane Dennis, Crossway's president and CEO, said, "We apologize for this and for any concern this has caused for readers of the ESV. Our desire, above all, is to do what is right before the Lord." Deuterocanonicals. The publisher, citing that the ESV has been growing in popularity, authorized an edition of the ESV with deuterocanonical apocryphal books included, which was developed by Oxford University Press and published in January 2009. The publisher's hope for this new edition, which includes the Deuterocanonicals, is that it will be used widely in seminaries and divinity schools where these books are used as part of academic study. The ESV version of the Deuterocanonicals is a revision of the Revised Standard Version 1977 Expanded Edition. The team translating the Deuterocanonicals included Bernard A. Taylor, David A. De Silva, and Dan McCartney under the editorship of David Aitken. In the edition including these books, they are printed and arranged in the order of the RSV and NRSV Common Bibles. The Oxford translating team relied on the Göttingen Septuagint for all of the Deuterocanonicals except for Maccabees, relying there on Ralph's Septuagint and Second Esdras, the ancient Greek of which has not survived, which used the German Bible Society's 1983 edition Vulgate. Use. The ESV has been used as the text of a number of study Bibles, including the Lutheran Study Bible by Concordia Publishing House, the Apocrypha, The Lutheran Edition with Notes by Concordia Publishing House. A series of ESV study Bibles by Crossway Books, the ESV Global Study Bible, ESV Literary Study Bible, ESV Student Study Bible, and ESV Study Bible. The MacArthur Study Bible by HarperCollins. The Reformation Study Bible by Ligonier Ministries. The Schofield Study Bible 3, an update and revision of the classic dispensational premillennialist Schofield Reference Bible by Oxford University Press. The Ryrie Study Bible by Moody Publishers. The Fire Bible by Hendrickson Publishers, and Incarnation of the Full Life Study Bible, edited by Donald Stamps. Additionally, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod adopted the ESV as the official text used in its official hymnal, Lutheran Service Book, released in August 2006. Criticism. Mark L. Strauss, in a paper presented at the 2008 annual meeting of the Evangelical Theological Society, criticized the ESV for using dated language and stated it is unsuited for mainstream use. On the other hand, he has defended gender-inclusive language in translation and claims the ESV uses similar gender-inclusive language, and speculated that criticism of the ESV by competing Bible translations is contrived for marketing purposes. ESV translator Wayne Grudem has responded that, while on occasion the ESV translates person or one, where previous translations used man, it keeps gender-specific language and does not go as far as other translations. The ESV website makes a similar statement. ESV translator William D. Mounts has called these arguments against the ESV ad hominem. Criticism has arisen in the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, which uses the ESV as its official translation, that its frequent translation of the Hebrew word mishpatim, judgment or decrees, as rules, is not only an impoverished translation of a very rich word, but also somewhat legalistic. Information box. Full name, English Standard Version. Abbreviation, ESV. Complete Bible published, 2001. Revisions in 2007, 2011, and 2016. Apocrypha, 2009. Derived from RSV, 1971 revision. Textual basis. OT, Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia, with Septuagint influence. Deuterocanonical Apocrypha, Göttingen Septuagint, Ralph's Septuagint, and Stuttgart Vulgate. NT, 83% correspondence to Nestle Aland Novum Testamentum Gracie, 27th edition. Translation type, formal equivalence. Reading level, 8.0. Version revision, 2007, 2011, 2016. Publisher, Crossway Bibles. Copyright, The Holy Bible, English Standard Version. ESV, Permanent Text Edition, 2016. Copyright, 2001 by Crossway Bibles, a publishing ministry of Good News Publishers.